Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So this is one that has been highly requested by quite a lot of you guys since the beginning of the week, and of course since the sacking of Lee Johnson. But of course there's so much stuff has happened since then, with deadline day, the re-signing of Jermaine Defoe, stuff like that. A lot has happened since then, but I'm getting around to it now. So rather than me just sitting here and picking a handful of managers that I would like to potentially see join Sunderland as a new head coach, what I'll do, I'm going to get up the current odds for the potential managers, because there's no point in me just picking out a load of managers left field and giving you what I think about them. The ones that are actually seemingly up for the job, I'll go through a few of them, I'll pick a few of them, and then I'll just have a chat about what I think and if it's a good idea to hire them or if it's a bad idea. So we'll get the odds up on the screen right now. And as you can see, currently, Roy Keane is a considerable favourite, and the reason why that is because yesterday it was brought to light that we were going to be interviewing him. As of today, a few different contrasting reports, some saying that Roy Keane has already been interviewed and is now sitting and pondering on the thought of that offer. But then there's some even from Sky Sports saying that they do plan on interviewing him today, which is the 3rd of February 2022. So that is why at the moment, because there's so much talk about Roy Keane, that is why he's currently the favourite. So for me, Roy Keane, it goes without saying, I'm a massive fan of Roy Keane, of course. It would be such a romanticised appointment, wouldn't it? And do I think he'd be a good man for the job? Yes, I do. I know there's been a bit of a split in the fan base across Twitter and social media and what have you. Some saying, he's done nothing for X amount of years. But, that doesn't necessarily mean everything anyway. The thing is with Roy Keane, he's sort of sculpted and made for the job in the first place because he knows the place inside out. Granted, it's not a Premier League club anymore or a Championship club anymore. And a lot of people say, I've seen this with people say, he just kind of left us when it got hard type thing. Which I could kind of see why people said that, but it was because of Ellis Shaw, a lot of it. Ellis Shaw, yes, he was kind of just throwing money and handing money to the wrong people, whether they were his signings or not in the Premier League. But he's mentioned it before in interviews, Roy Keane. He can't work under an absent owner. He needs to know what's going on, and he never had contact with Ellis Shaw, barely any contact whatsoever, if any. And it was just, what Ellis Shaw was doing was just putting plonkers in charge, and Ellis Shaw would just, to his, I suppose to his credit, he gave away some money, particularly in the Premier League. He really did throw some money at the wall, but he was just giving it to absolute dickheads, essentially, to spend it. And Roy Keane couldn't work under those conditions, and of course, Roy Keane, he ended up leaving. But for me, it is mentioned in recent interviews as well on Sky Sports, that the overlap that he does with Gary Neville, he was saying that he would, and he has been really sort of really wanting to get back into management. He feels like he has something to offer. He said even if it is a Championship club or a top-end League One club, that has been quoted. So it would have been, it is a sort of perfect appointment for him to get back into management. He's done bits, with Ireland and of course Aston Villa as well when he was there. He has done bits since then. It's not like he's done absolutely nothing. Of course, he's been on the punditry team for Sky Sports for quite some time. I do apologise, by the way, if I sound really nasally. I've got a bit of a cold. I have had one over the last couple of days. But so Roy Keane, it's an absolute yes from me. I'd give him the green light for that. I'd love to see Roy Keane give the lads a rock up the arse that they need. You've got Lee Johnson, who, after a draw against 10-man Shrewsbury, would say you need to respect the point. You're never going to get that in a million years from Roy Keane. Never in a million years. He will not accept mediocrity, whereas previous managers would. It absolutely wouldn't happen. Maybe some players, particularly these days, they don't quite like that. They don't like the tough love. They need an arm over the shoulder. And I get that some players are the confidence players. But 9 times out of 10, when you get someone who has had the career, the illustrious career, the glittering career that Roy Keane has had, and he's the personality that he is, it demands respect the second he would walk into that changing room. Do you know what I mean? He would absolutely demand that respect. He wouldn't have to earn it off anyone, whereas a lot of other managers on that list would. So for me, absolute yes for Roy Keane. But looking back at the list, you have Neil Warnock. Now, here's another one who is, some people, it really is one end of the scale to the other, particularly on Twitter, as I say, is my main form of social media. As soon as Neil Warnock was touted a couple of nights ago, some people saying, absolutely not, keep him away, he's a dinosaur, this, that and the other. And I won't lie to you, I'm absolutely on the other fence. I'm a massive, massive fan of Neil Warnock. I think he has the record for the most promotions, sort of ever. Do you know what I mean? So why wouldn't you want him there? He's got the personality. He's been there, done that plenty of times. And he obviously knows what he's doing. Granted, you might not get the pretty football that we occasionally saw in glimmers with Lee Johnson, but you get the job done with Neil Warnock. And yes, it might, for me, it'd have to be a short-term appointment, maybe to the end of the season, but you couldn't find a better a better man for the job. You really couldn't, to do the job that needs to be done. We're not in a terrible position. Put Neil Warnock in there. Like I say, he's really, really likeable, and he's also one of those, a bit like Roy Keane, where he will not be afraid to stick a rocket up these players' arses. And he's been linked with this club before, and I'm pretty sure he's mentioned us in different interviews before, saying that he would have liked to have managed us, or at least he would have liked to have the opportunity. And only recently, in other interviews, he's been saying that even though he's supposed to be sort of semi-retired, he really wants to get back into the game. Although he did say whatever his next job will be, it will definitely be his last. And so for me, a short-term appointment for someone like Neil Warnock, I think would be ideal. It would be absolutely ideal. Now, next on the list is Grant McCann. As you can see, 2-1, Grant McCann. Now, again, it's one of those where, on paper, it probably looks decent because he walked the league with Hull, so I get that. I wouldn't be completely against the signing or the appointment of McCann because he walked League One with Hull, and that was very, very recently. That's the one thing he has over Warnock and Roy Keane, is that only very, very recently, a couple of years ago, did he take Hull up to the Championship, and he absolutely walked the league, absolutely walked it. But not so great in the Championship as such recently anyway. I know that Hull have had new owners, and they pretty much just wanted their own man, which I absolutely understand. Just something about me and Grant McCann, I just don't think I would get that same kind of connection, which doesn't mean everything. It's a bit like Lee Johnson. I know that some fans said that they found a connection with Lee Johnson. I didn't. It just wasn't my sort of personality, if you know what I mean. Don't get me wrong, I reckon Grant McCann could maybe do a job for us, but would he have that connection with the fans that you get from the likes of Neil Warnock or you get from Roy Keane? I don't think he would. Again, that isn't 100% necessary, but it's definitely a bonus, and I definitely value that very highly. But for me, I'd take it. I won't be against it 100%, but I'd kind of be like 50-50. With Neil Warnock and Roy Keane, I'd definitely be like 100%, yeah, bring him here. With McCann, I'd have my reservations, essentially. That's what it would be. But now, Alex Neil is another one who's been there, done that. A little bit of a high-profile manager. He's been around the Championship before. He's a decent manager, a decent man. He wouldn't take any bullshit either. And I actually probably almost prefer the potential appointment of Alex Neil over Grant McCann, which probably sounds stupid, but I think, again, it's just one of those, I just prefer him as a man, or as a personality, not a man. That sounds a bit harsh, doesn't it? But I do actually quite like Alex Neil. Done that. He's been there, done that. Been around the leagues before. And I just prefer him in general. But now we'll have a look at the sort of outsiders now. You've got Patrick Kisnorbo there. John Terry, a big one. It was only the other day there was a woman who tagged John Terry in a tweet basically saying, like, do you fancy coming to Sunderland? Now, he didn't respond to the tweet with his words, but he liked the tweet, as did his brother, which made me think, is he in the running at the very least? Now, for me, John Terry, it's another one. He's going to immediately demand respect. He's had a glittering career. He played a vital part in the coaching at Aston Villa, only as of very recently. But the only thing is, on the cons, is of course, is never had a full-time or a first-team management role in terms of him being a head coach or a first-team manager, and also the kind of baggage that comes with it, because some of the shit he does, like, you should see it on Twitter, some of the tweets, whether he knows he's doing it or not, it's borderline racism at times, some of the stuff he's done. Of course, all the stuff in the past that has gone on, with Wayne Bridge. He's just, I don't know. There's a lot of things in the past that make me just not like John Terry as a person. In fact, I don't like John Terry as a person. But I think I would probably be lying if I said that it wouldn't excite me a little bit if he was to come, because of the calibre of player he was and the respect that he would demand. A little bit like Roy Keane at the first time round, because we were bottom of the Championship at the time. We knew that Roy Keane was a controversial figure, but he'd been there, done that, won so many trophies, an aggressive figure, and he ended up being absolutely fantastic. Of course, Roy Keane didn't have the sort of tainted sort of moments on his career like John Terry did, with some of the things that he's been up to and the things that he's done. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said it wouldn't excite me a little bit. But John Terry's a person. He's a dick, in my that's the be-all and end-all of it. A few others in there. You've got John O'Shea, he's always rumoured. You've got Gus Poyet. For me, yeah, it would be a sort of romanticised thing there, but I think people often forget, yeah, Gus Poyet, he did take us to the League Cup final, of course, which is amazing. I'll be forever grateful for that to him. At times, particularly during the first stages of his time with us, we played some fantastic football, but I think people often forget how bad it got when he did eventually get sacked. He was horrendous, and some of the football was garbage, and it was some of the worst football I've ever seen. And that's saying something. So, yeah, I definitely wouldn't. Well, I say I definitely wouldn't. That's very unfair. I didn't mean to say that. I'd definitely have my sort of reservations, although I do love Poyet as a person, absolutely love him. He definitely had the heart there, and he loved Sunderland. You've got Neil Lennon there, who's been touted to be one of the favourites. The favourites at the moment, according to Sky Sports, are the likes of Roy Keane, Grant McCann, and Neil Lennon. Neil Lennon, don't like him at all. Former Celtic manager. Yes, he's done a little bit here and there, but no, I don't think he's a Sunderland manager. He's not the kind of person. He certainly don't have the track record for me that warrants to be a club like Sunderland. Not saying that Celtic aren't as big as Sunderland. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying with Sunderland, it's more of a long-term project, and I don't even think that he would fit the short-term either. You know, you need to either fit the short-term or be capable of being a long-term manager, and I don't think Neil Lennon is that, if that makes sense. You've got Mick McCarthy there, that's another sort of romantic return. There's a lot of former Sunderland men in there, like Sam Allardyce, of course. Sam Allardyce is one that I wouldn't bat an eyelid. Of course, with Roy Keane, I wouldn't bat an eyelid. Neil Warnock probably wouldn't bat an eyelid either. Sam Allardyce, I'd frigging drive him up to Sunderland myself if he had to. Jonathan Woodgate is a definite no-go. Duncan Ferguson, I think, is an interesting one because I think it's another one that is, again, demands respect. He'll get the respect to the dressing room. He'll blow a rocket up their arses. I know I keep saying that term, blow a rocket up their arses, but because we've had such a soft manager, in my opinion, for the last 18 months or however long it was for Lee Johnson, you need someone like that. So it's a big thing. But again, he hasn't been first-team manager or coach before, or in a full-time capacity. And he has been doing his coaching as well at Everton. So he does have bits of experience there. Jonathan Woodgate for me is a massive, massive no-no. But these are the main men who have been touted, or the main managers that have been touted. And everyone has their own opinion. You guys let me know in the comments down below who you think we should go for. And if you have enjoyed this video, hit the like button for me. It'd be massively, massively appreciated. And subscribe to the channel if you're not already. It's become a fully fledged member of the Sassy Army. But for now, you take care and stay jamming.